Hi, today I'll show you how to install recipes and calibrate your brewer, whether it is a DBC or an ICB as well. First, we'll begin with our DBCs. Before calibrating, you want to remove the brew buckets and inspect the spray heads. Here you can see the spray heads are extremely clogged. These holes should be clear. Using your special tool or a pair of scissors would work as well too. You would enter into the hole to clear out the grime and corrosion. Every single hole, and then rinse this out underwater. Do that to the same one as well too. Once finished, your spray head should look like this. Install them back into the brewer. And then be sure to insert your funnels back into it as well before you calibrate your unit. You also want to have a bucket with measurements on it so that way you can get your measurements accurately and install them onto the brewer programming. To begin, you want to hold the hidden button where the trademark symbol is until you see languages. From here, you want to hit the button a few times until you see calibrate flow. Under the screen, there are also buttons down here for your selections. Select Control for yes, and we'll begin calibrating the spray head. So you want to hit yes, and it's going to check to make sure that your container is ready. So hit yes again. And then it says calibrate spray head, press the brew button. So because we're on this left side on a dual brewer, you want to hit the brew button on the left side. The funnel will begin to fill with water and then stop after a few seconds. Once this is done, you're going to record that recording into the settings itself. Once the setting is done, you want to check the amount on there, wait for your water to settle, and to get an accurate reading. On here, our reading is going to be 38 ounces. So on the screen, you'll have your plus and minus signs. We want to decrease this amount. So we'll hit the minus sign using the digital button to 38 ounces. Once you are done, you will hit done, and then it's going to show you your new reading for the left side spray head. Next, you want to drain out the water from your pitcher, and you're going to hit calibrate flow again. But here is where you want to change it. Instead of calibrating the spray head, we're going to calibrate our bypass valve now. So we're going to decline the spray head and then select yes for the calibration of the bypass. It's going to also ask us for our container to be ready. We will hit yes. And then again, you want to make sure that if you hit the brew button on the left side, your bucket is under the left side. So here our current reading is 24.9. We're going to look at our cup and check our reading here as well. Wait for the water and drips to settle so you can get an accurate reading. And here is 25. So we'll just make this rounded up to an exact 25. Press the plus button, round it up, and once you get your setting set, you're going to hit done, and then it's going to show you your reading for your left side bypass. Drain out your water. And we're going to repeat this for the right side. So we're going to calibrate flow again. We're going to do now the right side spray head. So we're going to hit yes. Our container is ready under. We'll hit yes again. This is going to say calibrate spray head brew, press brew start. For now, since we're doing the right side, we're going to hit the brew button on the right side. Once you see the water stops, let the water settle, and then get your reading. Here our reading is 37 in our cup, but it's reading 39 on our screen. So we're going to adjust that down 37, and then select done. Next, we're going to do the bypass on the right side. So we're going to calibrate flow again, yes, but we're not doing the spray head. So we're going to decline the spray head and then agree to the bypass calibration. Our container is ready, so we'll hit yes, and then we're going to hit brew on the right side. So now we can get our reading from the cup. Here is at 24. We can check our screen and see that our right side bypass is at 26. So we'll adjust this down to 24 and select done. Now that our calibration is done on our unit, we can exit this menu and allow this to reset. And then next we're going to start to program our recipes. Before programming recipes in this brewer, first you want to gather the proper planogram, the correct recipes that are going to be going on with that planogram, and your programming instructions. So here we are going to be installing recipes farmhouse single onto the top, farmhouse double into the middle, and decaf single onto the bottom. And then the right side will be our bold single, our bold double, and our Colombian LTO single based on the planograms. So once we have those planograms set, we're going to look for our recipes. To install the recipes, you're going to use your programming guide and your recipe sheet to install them correctly. To begin, you will hold down the hidden button under the trademark symbol until you see set language or units, and then scroll over until you see review recipes. From here, you will hit yes, and it's going to display first the no name recipe for the left side, and then when you finish this recipe, it will move over to the right side. If you are working on a single brewer, then the left would not be there, and it will just be no name for the one side. If you do notice that there's no left on a dual brewer, then there's an issue with your control board, and that needs to be resolved before you put the recipes in. All right, so to begin, we're going to work on our no name left. We'll hit modify, and then we're going to start with our top button. Our top button is going to be our farmhouse single recipe. So from here, we're looking for brew ounces for the farmhouse single. So this would be 109 ounces. So we're going to decrease this 202 ounces to 109. You can hold the button and it'll start to begin to skip in fives. You get to 109. Next, you're going to hit the second button down, and now we're going to do our second button's brew ounces, which is going to be our farmhouse double, which is 202 ounces. So this says 196. We're going to increase this to 202 ounces. And then once that's set, we have to hit the bottom button and get our bottom recipe on there, which is our decaf single. So our decaf single recipe is 109 ounces. So this is set to 10. We're going to increase this to 109. If you hold the button down, it starts increasing by fives. Once you get to 109, double check all your brew counts, hit done. It's going to confirm that all 3 batches are done. If you double check them, they should be correct. Just hit yes. Now we're going to move on to our bypass. So we're going to hit the top button again to work on that top recipe. And our top bypass for our single farmhouse is 30%. So we're here set to 33. We'll just drop this down to 30%. And then we're going to move to the next one. Do not hit done in these sequences. Our middle recipe, which is our farmhouse double, is our bypass is set to 30. So here it's 0. We're just going to increase this to 33%. And then move on to the bottom recipe. Hit the bottom button, and now we're looking for our decaf single bypass. Here on our recipe guide, it's set to 5%, so we'll increase this to 5%. Double check your bypasses, make sure they are correct. Once they are correct, you're going to hit done. It's going to confirm that all 3 batches are done. Confirm yes. So now that we have our recipe set for our bypass and our spray head, it's asking for a pulse brew. Only one of our flavors on this setting has a pulse brew. So before you hit yes, you want to make sure that the correct recipe is selected on the side to install the pulse brew. Once it is, hit the yes button, and it's going to ask for an easy install or a manual install. We always want to do manual install, so make sure that is flashing, then hit next in the middle. To begin, it's going to be our first count, which is our first on time. Based on our recipe guide, the first one is going to be 40. This one is already set to 40, so we can leave that one. Here we'll hit done because we're only working on that one flavor. In the middle, our recipe guide says 10. This is already set to 10. If you have to increase them, use your left and right plus and minus buttons. But this is all set, so we'll leave that at 10. And then our final bypass is set to 5. This is accurate for the recipe guide, so we'll just hit done on that one. And now we have a pulse brew installed on our bottom flavor, which is our decaf small. Going to confirm all 3 batches are done. If we only know that our last batch is the only one that needs a pulse brew on it, then we can hit yes. If there are multiple recipes that require a pulse brew, just hit no, and it'll bring you back to the pulse brew selection menu, and then hit the proper recipe button that requires a pulse brew. From here, we can hit yes. And now it's going to be asking for our drip times. We'll start off at the top for our drip time, which is our farmhouse single, and this is set to 2 minutes. Our recipe guide says 2 minutes, so we'll leave that. We could just hit done. We can move on and hit the bottom button. Our middle recipe is our farmhouse double. So our drip time here is set to 130. Recipe guide says 2. So we'll increase this to 2, and then we'll move on to the bottom one. Bottom one is our decaf symbol. Based on our recipe guide, this one is also 2 minutes, so we will increase this to 2 minutes. Double check all 3 recipes are accurate for their drip times, and then hit done. This will confirm all your recipes are done. They are correct, select yes. Now you have set up the recipe for your no-named left side. Now it's going to move over to the right side recipes. Same thing as you did on the left side. We're going to start by making sure that says no name right, so we're programming the right side. Then we'll hit modify. Begin with the top button. So our top recipe on the right side is our bold single. Our brew ounces for our bold single is 109 ounces based on the recipe guide. Here it's set to 246, so we will drop this down. To 109. Then we'll move on to our next button, which is going to be our bold double. Our bold double recipe is set to 202 ounces. Here it's set to 196. So we'll increase this to 202 ounces based on our recipe guide. Move on to the bottom button, which is going to be our Colombian and our LTO single. So our Colombian and LTO single based on our recipe guide is set to 109. Here it's set to 78. So we'll increase this to 109. Double check your recipes by pressing the buttons on the side to make sure they are correct. Once they are correct, hit done. Confirm that all 3 batches have been done by hitting the yes button. Here we'll install our bypasses, beginning with our top button. Our bypass on our bold single will be 20%. Here it's already set to 20%. There is no adjustments needed. Then we can hit the side button again for our bold double. Our bold double on our recipe guide is a 25% bypass. Here we will increase this one to 25%. Next, we can move on to our bottom recipe, which is our Colombian and LTO single, which is set for a 5%. Our LTO single, which is set for a 15% bypass. So we'll increase this one to 15%. Double check all 3 batches are correct on their bypass based on our recipe guide. They are. Select done and confirm they are. If any of these recipes were to have a pulse brew, repeat the same process for adding pulse brew recipes. Next, we'll be prompted to install a pulse brew. For this recipe on the right side, it only shows that our Colombian LTO is set up for a pulse brew. So be sure that your Colombian LTO, which we installed on our lower button, is selected, and then select yes. Be sure that manual is flashing. If it is, select next. And then we're going to start to enter our first on time. Based on our recipe guide, our first on time is 40. So we'll increase this to 40. And hit done. Now it's going to look for our off times, which is 10. This is already set to 10, so we can just confirm that. And then our last on time is 5. So this is already set to 5. We can confirm that is all set. Now we have a manual pulse brew set up on our lowest setting, which is our Colombian LTO small batch. Confirm that all 3 batches are done. Now we can move on to our drip times. Begin with the top recipe. Top recipe is bold single. So our bold single drip time is 2 minutes. This is already set to 2 minutes. So then we'll move on to the next one by hitting the button on the side, which is our bold double. Now, drip time is also 2 minutes. So we will increase this to 2 minutes. And then we'll move on to the final one, which is our Colombian LTO single. This is also a 2-minute drip time as well. So we will increase this to 2 minutes. Once all 3 are done, double check them to make sure they're accurate and then hit done. Confirm that all 3 batches have been set up, and now you have a no name recipe set up for the right side. From here, you can hit the hidden button and it'll move you into assign recipes. Now you want to assign your recipes to both the left and the right side. Once you're in assign recipes, you're going to hit yes, and it's going to automatically prompt you for the left side recipe. Look for the recipe that says no name. That's the one that you could just modified based on your recipe guide to be installed on here manually. Once you see no name, select done, and then it's going to move over to the right side. And then same thing, look for the no name recipe for the right side and hit done. Once those are done, continue to hit this button at the top where the trademark symbol is until you get back to the ready to brew symbol, and you're all done.